hit the ball.
Unsung narrative, young dumb American, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar has been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops my soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, which means we're hanging out with the fellas. Little sports nonsense and whiskey coming to you live. Hanging with Robert. The others shall be joining us shortly. Pinky had to take care of some household repairs, it sounds like, possibly. So we'll see how it's going. Robert,
He's 5
how you
minutes
doing?
away. If I need to drag him by his ear, I'll get him here.
Sounds good to me.
And I am fantastic. I am going to be in a few hours celebrating my next lap around the sun. So I am in great spirits. I'm ready to get my party on. I'm ready to talk some sports with my boys. Ready to talk some absolute nonsense with the boys. It's going to be a great show.
Yes, it absolutely is. We got a lot to cover.
Yes.
We got an NBA topic. We've got a little baseball. We've got F1. We've got NFL, and we've got nonsense aplenty. So, whole lot to discuss. We limit ourselves some time these days for reasons that are still not quite clear to us, but we do it anyways. So, that being said,
powers that may be.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that being said, the jumping into topic here shall be Mr. Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets, and what they do with their newly acquired acquisition in Jonas Valanciunas. So are you familiar with these stories, good sir?
I cannot say I missed the last message because I was getting my hair cut. I did not realize we were talking NBA. So no, please enlighten me. I missed all of this.
This guy doesn't even keep up with the group chat. I'll tell you. This is what we work with.
It's
on
been
a
a day.
basis.
It's been a day. What can I say? I have not had a good opportunity. So no, enlighten me, my good sir.
So news broke today, actually, on both of these topics, basically, with Jonas Valanciunas starting this morning off with giving his very vague thoughts about being traded to the Nuggets and whether he plays for Greece or he stays in the NBA. Nothing he said gave any clarity to anything. If anything, to me, it sounds like he really wants to just stay in Europe and doesn't want to be in the NBA anymore. So it's a bold move by the Nuggets to decide to tell him and his representation that they're not going to let him out of the contract. The buyout is not happening. And you can go ahead and report and be on this roster next year when the NBA season starts. Talent-wise, it's a great move. Backup center, a big that can play. There's really no downsides to him being on the roster at all. However, if they force his hand and he does have to show up and play, but truly does not want to, you then create a cancer in your locker room on purpose.
I was just about to ask that question.
You bring in someone who has told you they don't want to be there. Do you hope you change their minds during the course of the season? Winning cures all wounds kind of thing? Like, maybe. That is a huge risk to bet your season on over just releasing him and getting the cap space that comes with and then going out and spending that however you need to.
Didn't
Now,
they
you're
just
gonna
increase the NBA cap space?
I mean, it's like the NFL, there's a little bit of
Increments.
incremental increases every year. Yeah, as long as TV deals and things stay where they need to be. So it creates a decent amount of cap space that they could use. The problem is you're not going out and using that to then replace with another backup big for Jokic of the same caliber or anywhere close to the same caliber as Jonas Valanciunas. This is a legit big who could start on a lot of teams. So the fact that he would be playing limited minutes as a backup role to Jokic is maybe part of the issue. Maybe he wants to be playing more minutes and starting. And because he's not doing that, that's why he's going over to Greece. Who knows? He hasn't really told anybody. So it's a very vague situation is a good way to put it. It's not unique. This happens a lot, especially with European players who want to go back over to Europe, kind of finish their careers out over there. They're getting decent money to do so still. Yeah, so guys get bought out all the time to go back to Europe. This is not a unique situation in and of itself. The uniqueness is that it feels like at this point, I'm convinced everybody knew that this was his intention and the trade still happened. Which then you have to wonder, well, why does Sacramento want to bring on Saric? The only thing I can think of really is it's an expiring contract. So that helps. Cheers, good sir. Pinky's in the house.
Musketeer has joined.
So the expiring contract could help. I other than that, I don't know why Sacramento makes this deal, to be honest with you, because there could have been a buyout and they could have just used that money elsewhere. So on Sacramento's part, it's an insanely weird move. The Nuggets is obvious. It gets rid of a bad contract in Saric. It brings in a great backup center in Jonas Valanciunas. And if he bounces, you free up some more cap space. Not ideal, but it makes sense for the Nuggets in basically every way you think about it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and whether or not they can change his mind is how I feel at this point to come back and play. Jokic, though.
Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
It is. Very bold move, for sure. Absolutely. For Jokic, though, there's all this speculation now because it came out this afternoon, basically, that he's not going to sign the 3-year deal that he could do right now with the Nuggets that would net him basically $212 million over 3 years. Duh.
I wish.
Like, honestly, it's a duh move. And the fact that people are speculating, like, oh, this means he wants to see what they're doing and he's going to leave the Nuggets and he wants to trade. I'm like, no. He waits a year until next offseason and he can sign a 3-year, $270 or something like that $1 million deal. We're talking like a $60 million difference.
80.
If he just waits a year. 80? Okay, fine, 80. It's a big deal. Why would you not wait the year? Like, business, okay? Makes business sense in all aspects. So Nuggets fans, don't read or listen to any of the crazy stories out there. Anybody writing those crazy stories, congratulations on your clickbait. A bunch of people are going to read it for no reason. But Jokic isn't going anywhere. He's retiring or he's finishing his career in Denver. I've said that for a very long time. I can't imagine that scenario playing out in any other way unless the Nuggets traded him, which also don't see happening. Because you're talking about a doomsday scenario. And Kroenke mentioned it, and we've talked about it. Like, if you're a franchise, it would only make sense to do that. I don't see any of those things happening, so no worries. Jokic is here to stay. Even if Jonas Valanciunas does not sign with the Nuggets, they still improved. Even if you want to say it's incrementally, they still improved this offseason. They took the defending champs at this point to 7 games. Basically missing 2 starters in Game 7. Like, this is not a team that's on the downward side. They're right where they need to be with or without this guy. They're just better by, I think, a noticeable margin if Jonas Valanciunas is on the roster. So let's wait and see what happens there. Let's wait and see what happens. Pinky, do you have anything to add to the Jonas story?
I mean, it's a win-win for the Nuggets. If he comes and plays, he's a good backup to Joker. If he decides he wants to go play in Europe because he hates America, not hates America, but doesn't like the leadership that's happening, that's fine as well. We get it, but then we get that extra salary that now we can go out and sign another guy to take that spot. Now those options may not be as good as him, but we would still have some options. So. At the end of the day, it's still a win-win for the Denver Nuggets. So
So,
Agreed. Robert, does that feel like you've been now caught up on the latest?
I would say so.
Any questions left lingering there, good sir?
Nope.
All right. Onward we move, ladies and gentlemen. F1.
Oh, we're going there right now.
Oh yeah, we're moving into
right.
things because the NFL topics are a couple, and we're moving into NFL season here, NBA off season. I'm
Love
gonna
it.
discuss a little baseball ever so slightly after the F1, but that'll move
Okay.
us right into NFL. Yeah, we're moving, baby.
Okay. All right. let's
Because
talk
I figure
F1.
F1's
Man.
got some conversation this evening.
Yeah.
Ladies and
what a
gentlemen.
weekend.
Silverstone took place this weekend. As far as I'm concerned, it is the race of the year. And I will lay out some quick highlights, and then we can run through them, and Robert can go hog wild for a little bit here with me.
I absolutely will.
Good. First off, I feel like we had an entire race within the first third of the race, and there was actually only like 2 or 3 laps of actual racing within that time period. Crazy.
Rest.
Rain was the story everywhere and anywhere for this race.
Oh
And
my
the
God.
decisions and strategies used that played out over the course of this race made or broke quite a few teams and people. And it was wild to watch it play out over the period of time. Nico getting his first podium. And Robert, I might be way off here. And if this makes one of our clips that we post out and the people can correct me, cool. But I went back a little bit and started looking at where he starts and where he finishes. This dude
P19.
might be top 3 or 4 racers on the grid. He just doesn't have a car to support the talent, is what I'm starting to
Yes.
make my own theories on. But he gets his first podium in history after 290
89.
races. 289
89.
races. Absurd.
The longest anyone has had to wait.
Crazy. Awesome. So awesome. After this weekend, I'm going to admit flat out, I am becoming a Max Verstappen fan. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Max Verstappen.
Piastri, I'm out.
Ooh.
Clean out. There are a couple things he did that I am not a fan of in any shape, way, or form. Will not be rooting for the young man. I'm not going to say I'm rooting against him, but definitely will not be a fan of Piastri. Lando, Mr. Consistent.
Class act.
Mercedes,
Class
what's
act.
going on? Ferrari, what's going on? Start in there somewhere, Robert. Where would you? I mean,
Oh,
that's
man.
kind of like some
So,
highlights. What do you want to just go into
my-
first, good sir?
My favorite part of one, I can't say my favorite part, well, because there's so many. One of my favorite parts is watching Charles Leclerc just absolutely berating himself for how he's driving and everything that is happening with the car, like insane. And I mean, and this will tie into the Nico thing. I mean, that Hulkenberg takeover on Hamilton was just chef's kiss.
Clean.
I mean, again, Caleb said it earlier. I mean, he went from P19 to P3, essentially the last one on the grid. Insane. And Ferrari could not find their legs. They stayed consistent, but couldn't find that extra oomph. They're still chasing a lot there. They still have a lot to figure out with this car. Mercedes, it absolutely destroys my heart. As soon as Russell was like, "Oh, we're gonna put on slicks," I'm like, "This is not ending well."
Yeah, a little early on that move. They got a little, and I'll be honest, I blame Russell on that
Totally.
because by all radio communications they showed, it sounded like he kind of made that call
yeah,
based on what he told them the track conditions were, and then as soon as he gets out there, whoop.
Yeah, I mean, and that was one of the best part. I think it was the Haas vehicles. They were in tandem doing 360s.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
That
yeah.
was great. But yeah, and my boy Kimmy getting knocked out, not any fault of his own, just his car got rear-ended. So that was disappointing. So yeah, Mercedes, not a good showing at all. And McLaren, you are witnessing cracks, ladies and gentlemen. There are cracks in the team. There's cracks in their strategy. Things are happening behind the scenes. It was very evident in the race this weekend, especially with Piastri and his 10-second penalty he was awarded and how that was treated. He did his best trying to not say anything, but he still was a bit of a pompous ass, in my opinion.
Oh, that's putting it very kindly. I think he acted like a little bitch. I'm gonna call it straight out.
Damn. This will go viral.
That's fine. Like, let's be honest. Like, you brake check Verstappen, who's right behind you, and as far as I'm concerned, the only reason you do that is because you feel very concerned that he's going to overtake you on that restart as soon as that safety car leaves. Because he's either going to get a better run, or he's going to get the DRS, or he's going to get some kind of stream behind you and you're going to tow him. Like, whatever it is, it felt like that move was strictly based on the fact that you're scared of Verstappen directly behind you on a restart. And you tried to do something that would cool his tires off, that would change his line, his thought process, his strategy. But it was a brake check. And the fact that Piastri is trying to act like that's a within the normal standards of acceleration and deceleration, slowing down, braking, accelerating for that situation. Like, dude, I get you want to put that space between you and the safety car to make sure you don't gain up on it when you're full go again after the first turn or two. But then be better at how you're managing your speed up to that point to begin with.
Absolutely.
You got away with it earlier in the year, and I can't remember what race it was, but I feel like he did something very similar and got away with it. But this time was even more violent. Verstappen was right behind him and had to obviously move to avoid an accident. And then Piastri comes out and acts like there shouldn't have been an issue. Then, to make matters worse, McLaren comes out and says it was unfair. They say it on the radio. They say it when they try to fight the penalty. So now Piastri's sitting here thinking like, yeah, exactly. I was right. They're wrong. And he asks on the radio to switch positions back with Lando. Like Lando did something to lose the position. Like, baffling. Lando drove a great race, and everybody's like, well, it was given to him. I'm seeing all these comments like it was given to him, or he didn't quite race fast enough to pass him, or this, that. He is so consistent that he was exactly where he needed to be to take advantage of the situation when it happened. He was right behind Verstappen when it happened. He saw his teammate do it. If I'm his teammate, my first thought is, there's a lot of time left in this race. We got a lot of laps left. I'm going to just kind of just take it easy with the rain and stuff and see if there's a penalty. Because if there is, I'm about to go in the lead. And that's what happened. There was no reason for him to try and catch up to or pass Piastri when he knew that was incoming. So kudos to Lando for driving a great race, winning at home in Silverstone. Beautiful, immaculate. Loved watching the race. A lot of fun. Loved that track a lot. And Piastri acted like a little bitch.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not trying to like make headlines. I don't know how else to call that. Any other sport, I see somebody acting like that, especially towards a teammate. Come on, man, call it like it is.
And one of the comments, I mean, this was off grid and everything. Like this was on the race, but when they're doing their racers, the winner's interview. And he looks over at Nico for his first podium win, and he's like, how do you feel that it's made out of Lego? Like, I would be ecstatic, first off, because that's pretty freaking cool. Like, that is a one-of-a-kind, nobody else has type situation. And again, like, to try to take that moment away from him, dude is happy he is on the podium. And the best comment he made to follow up to Piastri's snide comment was, my daughter gets to play with it now, too.
My daughter loves Legos. She'll love to play with this. And Piastri is just kind of like, doesn't know how to respond.
Love it.
I mean, that, again, adding to the reason I'm saying what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I knew Robert wanted to bring that in and discuss because of his love for said Lego.
Yeah. And Lego...
absolutely. Like a dirt ball comment, a low ball, like no class. And I don't care if you're upset, frustrated, or whatever it may be in that moment because of what happened to you and you feel like you were wronged. Still does not okay acting in such a manner. You can still lose with class, just like you can win with class. Win with grace, lose with grace. And I've said for a long time, the orange slices and participation trophies generation has taught a bunch of people how not to lose. And so when they do, they don't know how to deal with it. and we get this. And it looks like entitlement and ridiculous nonsense that shouldn't be occurring. Now, I'm not saying people didn't act like asses back in the day either. Before all that, they did. But my point being, they knew better. And now I feel like there's a whole generation that doesn't quite understand that you should still handle yourself in a loss the same way you handled yourself in a win. You're just not happy. You're sad. That should be the only look difference.
Well, and that's one of the things that I'm being a rookie this year, kind of, and I'm already having a team going into this fight. With Kimmy's issue, not for Silverstone, but last weekend when he hit Max Verstappen in the rear, and he didn't say anything, was beside himself, and went over to the Red Bull hospitality tent and apologized. Not only did he apologize on the track, he went over to their hospitality tent and did that. That is a class act. That is, hey, that was my F up and things. And again, I mean, but you own it, right? And that's the thing, is Piastri is not owning this problem. He is blaming it on it. He's trying to blame anywhere else but his own self. And again, after what happened 3 weeks ago when they crashed into each other there, that was kind of one of the Achilles heel moments, is now they are starting to slowly unravel, and McLaren's going to have some issues, I think, coming up. That's
where I wanted to go next. But real quick, before, I want to kind of get your thoughts on this. Because while I don't disagree, I think Kimi is a class act based on everything he's shown so far. But I also believe part of the reason he went over there afterwards is because I think him and Verstappen are boys. And they have a friendship outside of the track. Russell and Max do not like each other.
No.
So had that been Russell and Max, I don't think happened. I'm just saying, I don't think you see Russell go over there after the race and have a conversation like Kimi did. So I think we're starting to, as the season plays out, not just see chemistry issues and things building within teams or falling apart within teams, but you're also kind of seeing the behind the scenes kind of friendships too that can lead to Max can opt out after this year. And he could go drive somewhere else.
On certain stipulations. We're not there yet.
By all accounts, it sounds like they're going to hit those stipulations.
We'll see.
We will see. But by all accounts right now, it sounds like those are very well going to come into play. So then you start wondering, Russell keeps talking about how he feels safe in his seat. Maybe not so much. So then you start seeing maybe teams unfolding as things get tighter down the stretch here, leading into, as Robert just mentioned, McLaren and what everybody thought maybe 2-3 weeks ago,
the dream
was two guys who were buddies and they're going to just fight it out, clean racing. Then the issue happened where everybody was trying to blame Lando for the crash, heard some things and saw some things afterwards where really Piastri kind of made a dirty move. So it could be a 50-50. You could even, if you want to argue, I would hear arguments that it was more on Piastri than it was Lando. I'd hear it the other way too. I'm just saying. There's legit arguments to be made for all of that. And then you start hearing things coming out where maybe there's not as much camaraderie and sharing of information between the garages as one had originally thought, even though that's what Mr. Brown is going to force them to do because he wants the Constructors' Cup, not necessarily caring about the Drivers' Championship, right? So it's very interesting to see now after this race and the way Piastri handled himself. Now, it looked like he was ecstatic for Lando on the podium. I'll give him that. It looked like he was happy for his boy on the podium, if you will. I mean, as happy as you can be after you think you got screwed, right? Now, they kind of ignored Nico, but I'll give Lando a pass for that because he won at home. So he's ecstatic. He's not really paying attention to other people, per se. I think that's proven true only because he remembered to grab Nico's helmet to bring it into the cool-off room.
Lando did.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying even though Lando may you want to say he ignored Nico on the podium, fine. but I don't think it's malice, if you will. I think it was just simply, I won my home track. I'm really excited.
All right. I will agree with you on that.
Piastri doesn't get a pass.
No.
He could have done things, and he did not.
Yeah.
So I'm giving Lando the pass is because he came in with Nico's helmet. Like, dude, you need this here. We got to have it here, and kind of like helped him out and like, explained why. Like, so because of that gesture, that's where I feel like Lando was just excited, kind of everything going on. Didn't really, he's not paying attention to that necessarily. Piastri, I think, was very aware and didn't give a shit.
Absolutely.
I could be wrong and pass for him then if he did, but everything else that he said and did says he knew and didn't give a shit. So yeah, I think you're right. And I think there's a crack, a schism. How big in the overall scheme of things is that within McLaren right now? I don't know, but I do think it will continue to grow.
It absolutely will. And the next F1 race isn't for a few weeks. The next one's on the 27th.
3, right? They basically had a 3-week break.
Yeah, we got a big break. Which I did want to come back to this because you mentioned this earlier. You are now becoming, a Max Verstappen fan. So please elaborate on that.
So I was never not a Max Verstappen fan, but when I don't even know what we call it anymore, Pinky, but just me being the sports nerd that I am or whatever, the Almanac Light, because I try to follow so many things but don't go in depth enough on all of them. I don't know. I knew what Hamilton was doing back in the day and the run he was on. And I knew Max Verstappen and the situation that got him that title that many felt should have been Lewis Hamilton's. I was very aware of all of that when it happened, even though I wasn't following F1. So because of that, I naturally was like, not a Max fan. Like, my guy took away some history there. I don't like that. Even though it was no fault of his own, right? But that's why I didn't ever root against him. I just wasn't a fan of him. But now, as we follow F1 more closely, and I start doing more research and trying to learn a little bit more and get to know things a little bit deeper, the things I learn about Max and hear about Max off the track sound like just a dude who's gold. He doesn't want the spotlight. He'd rather be home sitting on a sim on his off time than at a red carpet somewhere.
Dude.
Hanging out with family and friends, chilling on his downtime. He grabbed Nico and put him in his private jet to take him home and go party for a couple days before they went home.
Love that.
To just celebrate with him. He was one of the first dudes to congratulate him. Looked like he couldn't get out of his car fast enough to talk to him and say congratulations. Waving on him on the track. I hear other stories about things that he's done for other drivers. We love Kimi, and him and Kimi seem to be really close off the track. I think that says a lot about Max's character. If we see somebody like Kimi, who we really like, and the public seems to really likes Max. So all these things are starting to build to where now I'm like, all right, it sounds like I'd like the dude, and we could hang out and have a drink, have a conversation, or just relax. And you really like F1? Teach me. Like, if that's what your passion is, that's all you want to talk about, I'm down to listen. And he'd be cool with that. So then I start re-looking at the driving. Because as we know, Pinky, great offense will always beat great defense. Great on great. And I will argue that to the death of me, but a conversation for another day. Where I'm going with that, though, is Max is an offensive driver. Aggressive. In your face. He is not a defensive. He's not going to slow down and try to pick another line. He's going to see something and he's going to attack it. I love that. But I had to always wonder, is that he's not a great teammate person, dude, kind of I'm going to drive like a dick and just push people out of my way? Or is it just my driving style, and if people don't like it and they get out of my way and they're not going to be as aggressive and it gives me the line, more power to you for being that competitive. I always struggled with where that line was.
Yeah.
Now that I feel like I kind of understand the person better, I feel like I understand the driving a little better. Then I did some research on his setup and the style of driving and how it's like Schumacher's a little bit more. And it is a very aggressive setup to where you have to drive the car a specific way to get it to do what you want. I'm very much becoming a fan of him and his style and what he is about, if I'm being honest.
It absolutely it makes me so mad, but I'm so happy at the same time because again, being like Mercedes, that's been my thing for a while, even before I got into Formula One. And understanding who Max Verstappen is, Lewis Hamilton, and things like that. Just having that association, and then having my niece who just knows it's the Red Bull race car, knows who drives the car. Like he is one of my favorite drivers because I have to live vicariously through a 4, almost 5-year-old's eyes because she is now getting into this with me, and I'm starting to pay attention to that more because that is something that now she's gonna look back on and she'll remember this forever, and it's fantastic. So seeing a lot of those things and the respect, it's awesome. Caleb.
He's getting good at this.
He is.
He's like, I can fix it. Don't worry, guys. I got it.
I got it. I figured things out a little bit when this happens. I don't know why it happens. I apologize. Real quick, I find myself in a slightly weird position because, Robert, as you know, I didn't pick a team or a driver this year because I kind of wanted to learn everything, and I knew Cadillac was coming in, and that's kind of who I really wanted to attach myself to. I'm a GM kind of guy, driving Oldsmobiles, Cadillacs, Buicks, growing up. The grandpa mobiles, as my friends always used to call them, and now Cadillac's going to be in the F1 series. Woo! Grandpa mobile, that bitches, okay? I'm gonna root that way. But now I'm like, oh, I find myself kind of rooting for Max a little bit here. And at the beginning of the season, we're like, Red Bull is so Max pro that they can't find a driver for the second seat. And we're kind of like blaming it on Max almost. And now I'm almost like full on board. Like, dude, that's on Red Bull. Figure your shit out and find a quality driver, which you've kind of had in the past. Don't back just one. If Max is that good, find a driver that can push him and be as good as him to make him better and see what you guys can really do. Dude, that's where I'm at with this whole situation now.
If Verstappen and Antonelli become the Mercedes drivers next year,
dude,
I'm going to lose my shit. You're out again.
Oh, man.
That would be very interesting. Still?
No. You're just loud as hell.
No, you're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, it'd be very interesting because what does that do to Mercedes and Kimi and his growth? What does Max look like behind everything that Mercedes does? And then what does Red Bull look like? If Verstappen leaves, who do they bring in? Who's filling those seats? Because I'll be honest, right now, it looks like switching out Liam for Yuki was a giant mistake.
Dumb decision.
So, I don't know what Red Bull does. Don't know what Red Bull does. So, yeah, you're right. If that happens, along with, now Ferrari having a full year under their belt with Hamilton and Leclerc, and then an off season, and then the changes coming out, and then, obviously McLaren's got stuff figured out, so they're not going anywhere next year. Cadillac coming in, you would expect them to be on the bottom of the grid as a new team.
Audi's coming in and taking over the kick team.
Yep, Audi's coming in and taking over that. Next year is going to be we came in right before a bunch of crazy changes, so that
about to happen.
Lucky for us, because now we'll at least have a baseline to then be able to judge everything off of. Whereas if we had started this next year, I don't know how you would manage to keep everything in order and figure it out.
Right. No, completely. You're absolutely 110% right. So, and now again, I'm like, man, 3-week break. What the hell am I going to do with my Sunday mornings?
Sleep in a little bit.
Yeah, for real. But no, great week, great race weekend. By far my favorite race of the year so far. Still a lot to go. But man, I am loving this. I'm loving this sport. I'm so glad that I am getting behind it. Understanding it, getting it. It's fantastic. So
I need to find a Sunday so we can do some Bloody Marys and racing.
I'll take a look when
That
there's
would
a
be
good
fun.
weekend.
Yeah, we should try to do that. That would be fun. I do want to see changes to make overtaking more prevalent. That is the one thing I would like to see more of. You just don't see it as much as, and maybe that's because I started watching NASCAR first. And over the last couple of years, kind of getting behind that a little bit more and trying to learn, which got me to F1. So I've kind of left NASCAR behind a little bit, which I am bummed about. There's too many things to watch, and it's hard to watch them all, especially when you have little ones. So picking and choosing is really tough on me when it comes to sports. I don't like doing it. But you see a lot of passing in NASCAR, a lot of passing. And then you go to F1 and you basically see zero. So it's definitely a change. So it's more about, the practice sessions and the qualifying, looking at those times, the strategies they're using during those moments, and then the strategies being used throughout the race to see if people can kind of shuffle the board a little bit. So learning that and getting used to it, but I would like to see some change, a little bit smaller car, things of that nature to allow for that to be a little bit more prevalent. I think that would help the sport.
Interesting. I don't know. I'm still getting into it a little bit more. I don't know. I like the style, the length of the cars. I am excited for them to bring back the bigger engines. That is supposedly in the works in the next couple of years.
Sounds like that's really moving forward. Yeah.
Really hope that happens, but we'll be getting a
Won't
lot
be the
of
V10s. Sounds like they want to go to the V8s, but still.
But it's bigger than the V6 we got now. So.
And if they do that, it sounds like they might not do a hybrid platform. It would just be the engine, just gas. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe.
Fingers
hard to say.
crossed. Fingers crossed.
Still, we're learning a lot, guys. So if we're way off on that, don't hate us. We're just
we're
things
learning.
I've heard that maybe I didn't hear correctly.
We're learning. All right, let's make the transition to baseball so we can get to football.
So
Aaron Judge, he's a beast.
Aaron Judge is a beast.
6 homers in the last 9 games.
Cal Raleigh. I feel like I'm saying that wrong.
Cal Raleigh. Yeah.
Cal Raleigh, the catcher for Seattle, and Aaron Judge are the front runners for the AL MVP race right now. If I'm being honest, every time I look at the numbers, Raleigh's having a nice season. Judge is the MVP, and it's no question. Let's not do this. Raleigh's having a really nice season for a catcher. And if he leads the league in home runs, good for him. But the bat average, I think he's at 270 and Judge is 330.
Right. There's no competition there.
And then you start looking at some of the other metrics and OPS and things of that nature, and Judge just kind of has them in everything. So,
but it can be said, those boys are stroking.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely killing it right now. We've got. I'm drawing a blank on the NL MVP race.
It's Ohtani, baby. It's Ohtani.
I know Ohtani's up there. I feel like there was another front runner.
I feel like that was
Pete Alonso. One. Pete Alonso with the Mets is having a really great year. And the reason I wanted to mention those two things first is because, one, great players and great race that should last the entire season, especially with Ohtani starting to pitch again. Come on. Alonso's going to have to do a lot to overcome that. But because of the season Alonso's having right now and the way he's swinging the bat and the fact that he feels like he's in a really good groove, he is not joining the home run derby for this weekend. The Polar Bear is going to opt out of the home run derby, unfortunately for the fans, because he is one of the fan favorites and one of the dudes who just goes yard beyond yard a lot of the time with his dingers. He hits bombs, for those that know that reference. So a little unfortunate there, but it's nice to see us having some true races and nobody's quite run away with anything by the halfway point. Because, when that happens some seasons, it's who cares anymore? You start losing some interest. But there will definitely be things after the All-Star break that pick up here. And like I said, Ohtani's pitching again. Now, he hasn't pitched a ton since he came back, but he is pitching. And I think as he knocks that rust off, you're going to see some absurdly amazing things from, like I said, what I believe the best baseball talent that I've ever seen with my own eyes. Now, I didn't get to see Babe Ruth. I didn't get to see some of the other greats.
Hank Aaron, Joe DiMaggio, Mike.
Yeah, right. I saw Bonds. Bonds is insane. But Like, I feel like if Otani wanted to play the field and be a Gold Glove in the outfield or something, he could. He just chooses not to. He chooses to pitch and hit instead, which to me that's what should be normal. But for whatever reason, over time, baseball said it's not going to be, and you're going to be a specialist. So what he's doing is on another level. But yeah, so moving that all in, we've got the All-Star game this weekend. And for my money, and I don't think it's anywhere close, not even a little bit close. Like, there's this, and then I don't even care if anything else exists. This is the only All-Star game worthy of paying attention to and watching because it's still competitive. It's also the only All-Star weekend still worth watching because they just do the Home Run Derby, and the Home Run Derby is awesome. It's not a lame-ass dunk contest or skills competition or a three-point contest with dudes who aren't even good three-point shooters. It's not the NHL where they've kind of gone away from some of the things that could be cool, and they still kind of do them, but it doesn't seem like they celebrate them the way that they should with, like, the hardest shot and the fastest skater and things of that nature. Don't seem to have the luster they once did. We're not even going to talk about the disgusting thing that is the Pro Bowl. But this still is good. Home Run Derby is still awesome. They've changed it a lot over the years. I kind of almost wish they would just go back to the 10 outs kind of thing and make it last as long as it can. But I'm still good with it. It's still entertaining. And then you get the All-Star game where it's still a competitive game. Like, the guys actually still play the game. They're still playing baseball.
I mean, baseball is probably the easiest sport for these guys to play.
Absolutely.
And be competitive and not
Absolutely.
Be completely at the risk of injury.
You're not wrong. I don't disagree with that. But regardless, okay?
But these are
guys
facts,
used to do it in the past for all the other sports and didn't have any issues with injury and stuff. And those other ones have all turned into mockeries of what they once were. This is still a game. And I think it's still worth watching. It's still an event to pay attention to because there's nothing else going on.
Well, it goes on Tuesday, isn't it?
Monday will be I'm double checking again. Sorry.
It's Tuesday the 15th.
Tuesday the 15th. Yep, you're right. Tuesday the 15th.
We're going to have it on while we're podcasting, baby. Yeah.
And is the Home Run Derby on
Pinky.
Sunday? Oh, Home Run Derby will be Monday on the 14th. Okay. So Home Run Derby is going to be next Monday. All-Star Game will be Tuesday when we come on next week. I thought it was Sunday and Monday, so my bad. That's why I wanted to get it in here now.
Pinky's like, I'm watching Raw.
I will be watching Raw.
Dude, you can watch Raw on replay. Home Run Derby, you watch live.
It doesn't interest me that much.
That's
really.
Unfortunate. It is.
It really doesn't. I've tried.
Caleb, we'll speak about it together.
Good.
It just doesn't hold my
So
interest.
there's your baseball. That's what I've got right now. I will force this upon these guys. Pinky knows. After All-Star break, I start bringing it up here, little bits, kind of sneaking it in. And then that way, when playoffs roll around, we actually have something to back up a conversation a little bit. So, but there you go. We're moving into, we start caring about, I start forcing us to care about baseball a little bit more after this weekend. Myself included. On to a conversation Pinky actually cares and wants to be a part of.
Hey, thanks for joining, Pinky. We've been waiting for you. We have a special guest. His name's Aaron Pinkerton. He goes by Pinky, and he's going to join us now.
Hey, guys.
I know we got a little NFL conversations this evening that were intriguing and I think would be a lot of fun. So bring them on to us, good sir.
Let's go!
All right. Well, I'll let you guys start the debate. I saw this topic. I thought, this would be fun one to talk about. Going into 2025, because we did talk about the most interesting teams, or what I thought were the most interesting teams going into the season. What are the most overrated teams going into 2025?
Cowboys. Sorry.
Cowboys. Why so, Robert?
Because they suck. I mean, to be honest, they've had a lot of team issues. Dak Prescott is coming back, and he's probably not going to have a stellar season like normal. They are. I mean, as much as we've talked about on this podcast, and I have no problem saying it compared to other people. They are not America's team anymore, and they are still overhyped. They get all of this credit for virtually nothing. They've done nothing. It's just not a team that I'm like, you know who I want to watch this Sunday? Who the Cowboys are playing. You know what I'm going to watch them get done? Demolished. Like, moving on. That, I don't enjoy it. That is a time past now. That is not any of the big teams to be in a conversation with when you're trying to watch football on Sunday.
Till this guy ends up with CD Lamb as his first pick in fantasy and now has to pay attention to every Dallas game this upcoming season.
Don't you wish that crap on me? I am still the champ. No. I am the champ in our fantasy.
You can have a little bit of that juju going into the draft, baby.
Now, Robert is not wrong in this case. Would you like to help, land this plane? Would you like to help land this point for him? Or I can do it because I got some thoughts as well.
I will allow you to land this plane because I'm actually very intrigued by the Cowboys this year.
So it's not about intrigued. Overhyped.
So I don't think they're overhyped because based on what I believe they're capable of doing, I don't have them doing anything that's going to overhype them. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We haven't quite gotten to the point where a majority of the talking heads are releasing their season predictions and stuff and what they're really expecting. I don't expect a lot of people to expect things from the Cowboys this year. I think a wild card is definitely within the realm of possibilities of what they're fighting for. So with that being the expectation, I don't feel like they would be overhyped in that sense going into this season.
So again, you're taking it from a very logical point of view, but a lot of the media and a lot of the talking heads,
logic happens with everything except for these guys. Sorry.
And then also a lot of their fan base get them to this point that I can feel that they're overhyped because Robert has to hear about them so much. And that leads to his hate, and he lets the hate flow through him.
So is that their fan base, though, now, or is that the media because they know it's going to draw the numbers? I feel like their fan base has actually, over the last couple of years, become one of the actually more tolerable fan bases.
Because they get their hopes up, and then they're like, we suck.
I don't feel like on a whole, I don't feel like that's the Cowboys fan base anymore.
No, I think a lot of their fan base has become numb. I do think they've started to realize like Jerry Jones is a master at brand and marketing and making you get excited for what you kind of feel like at the end is still going to end to nothing.
Rob Schneider, we suck again.
To land this plane, the reason why the Cowboys are overhyped is there are some folks who are expecting them to compete with the Eagles in their division and the Commanders and compete with the powerhouses of the NFC. And I don't see that happening. I don't really like the George Pickens pickup. I think he could be good. I'm not a George Pickens guy. I'm not.
I think you want to talk about maybe him being a head case, fine, but I think the talent is definitely visible.
But to me, I'm not taking on that head case. I want no part of that. I want no part of that with the Dallas, glam and glitz and all that.
Okay, I see where the star, if you will, him being in the light of that star, you feel like will only amplify the head case issues.
Because I want guys.
That's
who
a
want to
fair.
Come to work,
I can't. Okay.
And I want them to work hard, play hard, build a true team. But at the end of the day, they still have Dak Prescott, and we see it time and time again. He puts numbers up, and yet at the end of the day, he doesn't get it done when it matters most. And for whatever reason it is, he just doesn't do it. So I can only understand how the fan base can be numb. On top of that, I don't think they're going to do well on defense without Dan Quinn. I think that's going to be a major issue.
Well, again, how'd they do last year with Zimmerman being the lead dog?
Not great.
Zimmerman or Zimmer? Zimmer. Okay.
Yeah. Not great. So then now you bring in another one.
Now they had a lot of injuries last year on defense. To be fair, Parsons missed a lot of games. Lawrence missed a lot of games. That secondary was banged up most of the season. I mean,
but I don't think they did a lot of things to improve that part of the team on top of a new head coach as well.
That we don't really know a lot about. That's always the sticking point, right? With the Cowboys. There's always two sticking points. One, Jerry talks about going all in and then seemingly does nothing to back up said statement. And two, they seem to draft really well on a regular basis, but then they don't go out and fill the holes they need to round out the roster, which then leaves them in a position where a lot of the times over these last couple decades, their depth is lacking. And when they get an injury, they then become very vulnerable in whatever position that is, whether it's the quarterback or the defensive line, linebacker, wide receiver, like running back. They always seem to have this issue. Now, it could be argued they might have gotten enough linebackers this year, maybe. George Pickens and the wide receiver core could have solved that issue, maybe. They brought in a bunch of running backs who can play if they're healthy, maybe. So I think with Dallas, there's a lot of these, more so than any other team this year, I think in the NFL, there's a whole lot of what ifs and the big, if everything goes right for us, we could be here. But the likelihood of all of those pieces going right for them at the same time is so astronomical. The fact that they put all the eggs in that basket is a wild move. It's not even a bold strategy cotton move. It's just a wild move.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about him at all. And I hate seeing the media. And again, they get views, they get clicks. It's not quite the Cowboys' fault anymore that the media latches on because they know people are going to watch and they're gonna click on the videos and they're gonna listen to the takes and all that. But I just feel like, again, they're continually overhyped and I don't like it. So that's one. Caleb, who would be an overhyped team for this season?
The Broncos.
Oh, man.
And I only say that because by all accounts, they overachieved last year and are ahead of schedule. And two, you're still going in with a second-year quarterback and an offense that, by all accounts, doesn't really have a true one playmaker type guy. And so it could be argued that last year the offense saw its cap. That was the ceiling, which if they can do that again, great. It's not bad, but it's not necessarily, if that's the case, that's not necessarily going to get them where a lot of people are projecting them to be. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You see a lot of second-year regression in the sense of young players or new teams or head coaches or all sorts of things. And the Broncos kind of have this mix of a lot of second-year things all going on at the same time, that a regression wouldn't necessarily surprise me or be a bad thing, because I think it would be something that then could catapult them up going forward. But I think there is a lot of hype around the Broncos, and a lot of people are picking them. And I think it's overhyped seems like a strong word, but I do believe it is overhyped.
Robert, you want to comment before I jump in?
So I would completely agree, because as we all really talked about last season around this time with the Broncos, is they are very much in a rebuild, restructure type of situation. So, I mean, Bo Nix had a great first year. He played exceptionally well. But we're going into year 2 now. Year 2 is kind of, I don't want to say make or break situations, but that's where your character is really tested. If you got lucky or if you're consistent. So I would absolutely agree with that. And to be honest, it's also one of the big fears that I have this season is, what are they going to do? And for that reason, I feel like a lot of other Broncos fans should feel the same way, because it is dynamically a new team. I mean, they are still putting pieces together and trying to figure some things out, but that also hasn't produced a ton of success. There's been successes, but not a lot of it. And they're still trying to work out the kinks to make that solid team. So, I mean, it'll be kind of a hit or miss watching him again this year. And I know Pinky's going to have a lot of frustrating comments, and he'll probably say he's done watching at halftime.
There might be a few games like that. Yeah, potentially. Pinky, I think, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this after you let us kind of spew our nonsense here. I think the Broncos offense, for me, there's a few others that are kind of up there, but it's right in the top 3 of biggest what ifs this season. Because you've got an RJ Harvey coming in as a rookie running back that they specifically seeked out when there were some other options available that I would have gone with. What does Troy Franklin do in the second year? I mean, that was Bo Nix's guy at Oregon. They drafted him a lot on what they saw on tape, but also because that chemistry there. Does he take a second-year jump and become a 2 or show flashes of maybe being a 1 going forward? Can Courtland Sutton keep up his consistency? Does J.K. Dobbins, who I think is the most talented back on the roster right now, but we all know the health concerns, can he play a full season and give them that depth? Does the offensive line look as good as it did last year? Like, I'm not worried about the defense at all. I would have been if they didn't add those extra pieces. And I would have been sitting there going, can they repeat what they did? Like, they kind of broke out. They got some contributions from guys you didn't expect. Can they do it again? But they went after and filled those defensive holes and brought some key veterans and talent. I'm not worried about what the defense does at all. I think they'll be just as good as they were last year, even if the numbers don't quite say that. But that offense has all sorts of question marks, and I struggle to think of an offense that I'm more what if about than that offense. The Bears and the Jags are up there with Denver.
The Jets.
Nah, I'm not really a what if with the Jets right now.
I was just throwing that out there because, you know.
I'm thinking about teams that have weapons and we've always felt have wildly underperformed. That's, to me, the what ifs. Jags, Bears, new head coaches coming in, offensive-minded. We believe there's weapons that were underutilized. Let's see what happens. But you talk about the Broncos. Nobody's sitting there going, Broncos have a bunch of weapons that didn't blow up. What's going on? A lot of people looked at that offense last year and were like, how do they keep doing that? Where are they getting these contributions from? How are they putting up these numbers? Where are they scoring? And it almost seemed like a different guy every week. That's a unique offense to then also put up wins at the same time. And they're going to do that this year just like they did last year. I can't think, am I missing another offense that is going to be similar? Maybe Arizona? Maybe you could put Arizona kind of in that same ballpark offensively wise. But they are more weapons that were underutilized, I think. Not kind of, and I hate this term because it just doesn't fly with me, but Jags, right? Just another guy. Like, that's what a lot of people say the Broncos offense is, just another guy. But they did work last year. So, like, can they repeat that? Where do they get the contributions from? Like, that's very interesting to me. And because of all of that, overhyped, I think, to me, even though I'm a homer and I'm a fan, I feel like that is a legit overhyped team at this point.
Solid.
Pinky, hit me. Where are we thinking? Who are you thinking is overhyped? What are you feeling?
Caleb, I hate you so much. And you're not wrong. This
Hey, this doesn't happen often. Woo!
The Broncos are probably, at this point, the media darlings and the most overhyped team in the league at the moment. And that's as a Denver fan. And I have some of those concerns. We haven't had this feeling in a long time. Like, where the media is excited for us.
Yeah.
They're talking about us constantly. Everybody's Bo Nix. Everybody's talking about the defense, right? Now, the concerns that you bring up about the offense are all legit. I'm just coming back to the relationship between Sean Payton and Bo Nix. And if Bo knows the offense better than he did last year, and he was able to put up 25 points a game as a rookie with the skill players we have, what can he do as he knows the playbook like the back of his hand? when he can
Yeah.
motion and he can call and he'd be like, oh, they're playing this coverage, so I know exactly where to go, which he did a lot of as a rookie. That's why they scored 25 points a game. And most people, if you're not a Broncos fan, you couldn't name somebody on the roster. You couldn't name Deshaun Vele. You
Right.
didn't know, the third string tight end catching one-hand passes. So at the end of the day, it's like, I still think that that's the connection that matters the most, because that's also what mattered in New Orleans.
Right.
And as long as Drew Brees was healthy, they had a top 10 offense every year. And most of the time you could only name, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, Marcus Colston, Jimmy Graham. You could only name like their superstar, but there was a lot of other pieces that added some of those big plays, and they added pieces where it's just they just moved the ball and they scored points, and you didn't quite know all the characters on the team. And I think that's a mirror image of where we are right now. And you're exactly right. There's a lot of what ifs. If Vele gets better, if Franklin gets better, if Pat Bryant's the truth, the dude can run routes and he can catch the ball. If he can do the same thing, like Sean Payton says, he's Michael Thomas. Like he legit said, when I watched his tape, I saw Michael Thomas. Right? If those things all come to fruition, we should be pretty damn good. Will we be good enough to reach the expectations the media has started to put upon us? Who knows? I'm still excited, but yes, we are very overhyped, and I can't even argue against it. So, I hate you. Good job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Love you, buddy.
And the next
Solid.
one,
Poke.
I'm going to finish this part of the
Solid.
conversation because I know we got to get to some nonsense, and we'll hit the next topic next week. The other overhyped team, and it's very similar to the Broncos. I think you probably know where I'm going. Well, actually,
Go ahead.
Because I can say
Go ahead.
There's two
Let's
teams.
see.
There's two teams, but right now I would definitely say it's the Commanders.
That's what I was gonna say. Woo!
I wanted to say,
Cheers, gentlemen. I don't know if we've ever all been on the same page at the same time.
I
Let's
wanted to say the
go.
Bears as well. The Bears are pretty overhyped too,
That was my second pick.
but the Commanders are really overhyped, and they have
That was
a
my
lot.
second pick. Let's go.
They have a lot of the similarities of the Broncos. Just theirs is a little bit different. Their defense is not good.
Yeah, they didn't do a whole lot to make me feel better about that situation.
They did not.
But Dan Quinn is a genius, so he always seems to piecemeal it together to be at least middle of the road.
Dan Quinn normally can put a defense at least that's aggressive and can turn the ball over. They may not be good 20-20, but they can usually get some turnovers.
Yeah.
And that's an equalizer.
Let me throw this out there, Pinky, and then please continue on your ramble and address this when you feel the need. But people putting Jaden Daniels in the top 5 is absurd. Straight, what the hell are you thinking? Please put down the crack pipe. Let's have a conversation about this. How did you get there? What the hell? For me. Like, I can't. And this is somebody who said I would be taking Jaden Daniels 1, Caleb Williams 2. We're on record with that. And I'm still sitting here going, really great rookie year. I was saying before CJ Stroud got hurt, I'd have him as my MVP because of what he is doing as a rookie and for that team and this, that. I was saying last year, Jaden Daniels could keep certain things up. I'm on board with that. He didn't.
So more
Really good quarterback.
Don't listen to
He
Caleb.
is not top 5 in the league right now. That's crazy.
Moral of the story: don't listen to Caleb.
I will listen to an argument that he's top 10. I would probably agree he's not quite top 5. If somebody wants to make an argument for it, I'm willing to listen. I won't tell them they're an idiot.
Yes, you.
But I would say it'd be a tough conversation because I've still got Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the top 4 guys. And I'm sure I'm missing a 5th. I like Matt Stafford a lot. I have Baker. Baker's up there for me as well. This
is going to sound a little wild, but if you go back and look at numbers, you'll
Goff.
understand where I'm coming from. Right now, I'd be very willing to say Caleb Love is above Jaden Daniels.
Oof.
Caleb Love is the youngest roster around him.
Jordan
Love, Caleb Love. What am I? Sorry, North Carolina basketball fans. I apologize. Came out. NFL fans, apologize even more. Jordan Love, youngest roster around him, had the highest drop rate by his wide receivers last year. If you go back and look at tape, like some of those drops were in very key moments. Otherwise, their season looks a lot different.
Packers ain't packing.
I know Pinky's not as high on him, but you put Kyler Murray in a legit situation with talent. Like, to just put Jaden Daniels in the top, like Dak Prescott, I would probably say is a little bit better than Jaden Daniels right now. And that's not a knock against Jaden Daniels. We love the talent and the player and what he did last year. But to, after 1 year as a rookie, put him above all these other dudes is absurd, especially considering what happened with CJ Stroud, where you saw a crazy rookie year and then a big downslide the second year. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that caused that, but come on, like a little. Let's give the vets a little bit of credit here.
Keep in mind, what a lot of people see is the high. They didn't watch all the games. They see the highlights. They don't know how we got to that moment. He had a lot of comebacks. He was clutch when it mattered most.
He was. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, when you looked at the box score, you were like, wow, he had a great game. But you didn't see that he struggled for like 2.5 quarters. And then he started running the ball. And then after he started running the ball, then he'd hit a pass here or there. He'd get into a rhythm. And the next thing you know, they were moving. That happened quite a bit. So again, people saw that, right? They didn't watch the games. I watched the games because I had Scary Terry in a couple leagues. And so I was always like, okay, let's see what's happened. Let's see what's going on. But I saw there were times he was inconsistent. And that's, again, he was a rookie. That's going to happen. So he played really well. Again, I would still agree he's probably top 10. I don't think I can.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time dropping him out of the top 10, but to just call it top 5 and just that's the end of the conversation, I think is a little wild, especially considering, Pinky, you and I have talked about this a lot over the last couple of years. We kind of feel like we're in the golden age of quarterback play in the NFL. Teams are starting to understand that you can build an offense around the talent rather than force the talent into the offense. Square peg round hole is not as prevalent as it used to be, especially at the quarterback position. So that allows more potential to shine. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Well, next week, we'll have a conversation around these sophomore QBs a little bit more in detail. And we'll talk about all 6 of these guys from last year.
Name all 6, just so the people know what's coming up.
You got Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. You've got Michael Penix. You've got Bo Nix. You've got J.J. McCarthy.
There it is. It's actually, I was hoping we would get there. So 7, because people want to say J.J. didn't play last year, and that's fine. He's a rookie. I'm good with that. Like, you wanted semantics, fine, whatever. But this is still his second year. He was in the same class, so he will always be compared to these other guys, like it or not. So all these other guys have a year up on him. Hit the ground running, JJ. Your old coach said you were the best quarterback in the draft, no questions asked. I have said, after going back and kind of reevaluating you and things, I saw quite a bit of potential that you just didn't get to show as much of at Michigan because they wanted to win a certain way and you ran it to perfection. And if you're a quarterback that's willing to eat your ego and your numbers for the greater good of the team, a la Jalen Hurts kind of situation, and that's just one example. I'm not saying other guys don't do that. But if they're willing to do that, can go a long way for the franchise. So it will be very interesting to see what JJ does next year, a year behind his counterparts.
All right. Robert, you're up, baby. Let's talk some nonsense.
To our counterpart, the nerd expert for our segments of the week, I give you Robert.
That's right. There's been a lot.
Should we do that every week? That was pretty good, huh?
We might have to do that. We might have to.
That's pretty solid.
We'll keep working on it. We'll keep working.
All right.
So we're gonna get this out of the way so I don't spend too much time talking on this later. Dune Part 3, as officially confirmed as of today, as the title. I'm a little disappointed. I personally am more partial to Dune Messiah myself, so we'll see where this goes, but it is officially titled Dune Part 3. Production is rolling. Timmy may have shaved his head, so I'm very curious to see how this is going to be going down.
I've read some things that the Villanueva,
yeah.
while it has not been confirmed, I've read some things that say that there's possibly a story involved that is going to be unexpected, where we don't follow the main character we expect quite as much, which I found very intriguing, especially because I don't know the books, so anything they diverge from, I'm good with right now, right? I'm in that
you
space.
You don't have an opinion, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm good with whatever he does because I've loved what he's done so far. So I don't have an expectation, but I am curious, Robert, because I bounce things off of you, and I still like to know what happens in the books to see how it compares.
Right.
Because one day maybe I'll read them when I retire. Is this within the realm of the book? Is there enough of him still following the books to keep the story, or is he kind of now, if that's true, has he kind of then created his own version of Dune?
So yes and no. I will say he has created his own version of Dune to a certain degree just like they did with Lord of the Rings, right?
Sure. And we've talked about that, like the sister has to be a certain representation in order for it to be, yes. So you've helped me understand some of that stuff.
Having a few key elements that are already missing going into this next story that has a massive time jump, I definitely think that it's going to be told from this other perspective to give agency, if you will, to the story that needs to be told.
And that would be Florence Pugh's character's perspective, the princess.
Hers, and there's some I forget it's the face dancer, and I'm blanking on his name. But
okay.
It's who they had casted. Oh man, who was it? I'd have to double check. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But there was a pretty big name that was rumored to be cast with it. It may have been Robert Pattinson, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm very curious to see where this goes. And again,
I've heard Momoa is coming back, which you filled me in on that storyline a little bit, and that's insanely wild.
Yes,
that, along with a couple of the other things we've talked about of changes and how the story goes, have really made me want to read the book. But again, we've talked about time, and you people want my expertise on this podcast here. Come with you with some drop dead good sports knowledge. I don't have time for that. But Robert fills me in, and this is mind blowing stuff. The way this is written and gone down.
To confirm, it is Robert Pattinson who's coming in as the villain, quote unquote. Yes, Jason Momoa is returning, and if you haven't read the books, that's on you. But
the storyline on that is just wild.
It's insane. And to further that, even to kind of keep it in the family, if you will, Jason Momoa's son has been cast as Paul's son. Leto the Second.
Okay.
Yes. So a lot of things that are happening. They are twins, so there is a sister, which that's a whole other topic of rabbit hole we could go down. So yes, it is happening. I'm excited. I personally, I love Denny's interpretation of Dune. It is still not the books. It will never be the books, but it did enough, just like Lord of the Rings did. So I'm very excited for part 3.
Nice.
That being said,
this is lame though. Dune Messiah has more gravitas.
I know. Yeah, Dune Part 3 is not the title. I can't say I'm a fan. Dune Messiah, it really just goes hard. It's a great title. But we'll see where this goes. Because again, nobody expected the first Dune movie to be split into 2 for one book, but that's what they did, and they did it great. So we'll see what happens from here. Moving on from that, to get into a quick movie review before we get into a future movie review. Idris Elba's and John Cena's movie on Prime, Heads of State, is a solid.
Oh, that's on Prime?
It's on Prime. It's free.
Why didn't you
can
guys
check
tell
it
me
out.
that? Like, you're sitting here talking about it, and I just figure it's a movie theater movie,
Oh,
so
no,
I
no,
just
no.
ignore it altogether. If you had
It's
told
on
me it was on
Prime.
Prime, I could have literally watched it today and had a conversation right now.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, no, it is on Prime. So
You failed me, gentlemen. You
Sorry.
failed me today.
All right. Well, note to self for the chat: classify how the movies are released. But yes, no, it's on Prime. Check it out. It's a quick 2 hours. It's nothing major. Solid. It's not like a top tier movie by any means. So it gets a strong B+ buddy cop type.
Is it like the other guy's level?
It's not as comedic as that.
Okay.
There is some seriousness to it.
There's
but
a
it's
lot
not
of seriousness to this.
So is it more
Yeah.
action comedy than comedy action?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The action is legit.
Yeah,
Okay,
the action
fair.
is cool. And I mean, also and this is just being one of the OG Prime TV guys is the kid from The Boys, Huey.
Yes. Huey.
He
He's
is
fucking
in this
awesome.
movie, and
Oh.
Jack Quaid is
All right.
in and he plays one of the best characters in the movie.
I like Huey. All right.
And
all right.
I watched some behind the scenes stuff, and I was like, oh, cool, because he had been doing a lot of stunt work for Novocaine and brought that into this movie, and it was just really fun to see.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed it. Again, it's not like the movie of the year or anything, but it's like one of those, like, you see a trailer for a comedy movie, you're like, you know what? I need to go see that.
I can sit
Hey.
down and watch it at home and not be mad that I
Hold-
sat
hold
down
on.
to watch it.
Exactly.
Okay.
For a movie on a streaming service, this delivers.
Hey,
That's all you need to know.
If we're talking about a movie on a streaming service that has delivered, it is either A, going to be Gorge, or B, on Apple TV, or B, Hulu with Predator Killer of Killers. Those are out of the park. Those are tied for first.
All right. Before you move on, I know we're bouncing around all of a sudden again, but like you, I do finally want to watch the Predator movies. I don't give a shit about the
Yeah!
Alien movies.
We
Like
did it!
the Alien
gotta
movies are
win!
trash.
Woo!
But Predator, I've always been a little bit interested in because of the cast, and now you guys talking about it consistently. I know Pinky said at one point, like, there was, like, I could watch 1 and then skip straight to 4 or something. Like, what?
Not
Like, let's be
anymore.
honest right now before we move on to, and I'm completely interrupting Robert's topic, so I apologize.
No, you're
I'm
good.
hijacking the shit out of it right now.
That's okay.
What do I need to just watch them in order all the way through if I really want to get it, or is there some that I can just kind of like
Pinky,
not worry
shut
about?
your mouth. Pinky, shut your mouth. Before you even do anything.
You know, if
So-
it wasn't your birthday tomorrow and you wouldn't be at work, I would punch you in the nuts.
Taylor,
You're getting a
so
freebie for your birthday.
As a person who, to a level, enjoys like movie Easter eggs and things like that, such as myself, watching them all is beneficial.
'Kay.
1, 2, Predators, the Predator, and then Killer of Killers.
Wait, isn't there
Now-
Prey or something in there?
Oh yeah, that's right. There's Prey. So Predator, Predator 2, Predators, the Predator, Prey, Predator, Killer of Killers.
Oh man, there's 5 of these things.
Look, Caleb,
Yes.
don't listen to this asshole. Predator, you can do Predator 2 because Danny Glover is at least good in Predator 2. Prey, and then Predator, Killer of Killers. You don't need to watch the other two. They're garbage. And I love Predator. But the one is kind of funny if you don't take it too serious. The one with Michael Keegan Key. That one's
Yeah,
got
the
some funny
Predator is
moments.
hilarious.
Is there anything in them that if I skip them, I'm going to not understand or miss
No.
out on the other ones?
Not
No.
necessarily. So, all right, if we're gonna go, then yeah, Predator, Predator 2, Prey.
Remember,
Killer of
Robert,
Killers. Watch those.
this
Okay.
is a man who has limited time.
You're
So this dude
all
ain't got
I'm
time for
sorry.
6 movies.
I have them just sitting on my shelf. I can just give them to him to watch.
But he ain't got time to watch stuff that's doesn't really matter. 3 and 4 do not matter
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
And they're pretty
Okay.
bad.
They just got cool Predator moments. What can I say? And Lawrence Fishburne's character in Predators is one of my favorite roles.
I do like me some Lawrence Fishburne. Like, that dude's like the B-roll king.
So, yeah, no, again, you're asking somebody who I love the Predator probably more than I love Alien. If I'm being
All right,
quite
basically,
honest.
here's what's going to happen. I'll watch 1 and 2, and then we'll go from there. I'll commit to 1 and 2 right now by the end of the summer.
And why? And the ending of 2 ties into Prey and Killer of Killers.
Okay.
I'm just gonna.
I'll commit to the first 2 by the end of the summer, and we'll see what happens from there.
Let's get this train back on track.
All right. So anyway, watch Heads of State on Prime. It's fantastic. It is one of the better, as Pinky said, streaming movies that is just out for you to enjoy from your couch. So definitely check it out. Great time. I mean, I would say even it has some better CGI moments than some of the Marvel movies that have come out recently.
That's fair.
So definitely check it out. I think it was Prime and MGM because Prime owns MGM. But either way, highly recommend. Good quality, good family fun. Check it out.
All right, that's done. Get move done. Throw it out there. You have a fun 2 hours. Go watch it. Now, the future movie review that you spoke of that everybody really wants to know what you're talking about is
Superman is a hit.
Oh, we're on that already.
Superman is hitting. That is this weekend. Pinky and I are going on Thursday.
But you feeling like real good about that already?
I'm feeling solid. And
because you've been very skeptical, and what you felt about some movies that have come out here recently has not been as glamorous as you had hoped, I guess is maybe a good way of putting it. So you've been very, I guess reserved might be the right way to put it, about Superman and Fantastic Four. Those are the 2 that you've been very kind of like, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to feel too much. Like,
absolutely, and there's several there, and they are similar reasons, but very.
He just doesn't want to get hurt again. That's all. He doesn't want to be hurt again.
Again, I mean, this is the first DC movie under the DC Studios letterhead. This is a make or break for them.
Wait. Hang on, help me understand this, because I think I've missed that news. So this is not, technically speaking, it's Direct Link Studio is DC, not Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is more the parent company at this point rather than the main source.
Correct, because you have Marvel Studios, you now have DC Studios.
I did not realize that. When did that happen?
When James Gunn took over and scraping the universe.
I mean, that makes sense. Okay, so this is his first release under that.
This is the first movie underneath that. Okay. So number 1, that is a make or break situation going forward for a lot of the stories. Number 2, they, not just DC, but Superman itself currently as a movie has the chance to do the unthinkable and actually beat Marvel. Because Marvel is grabbing at shit right now. I mean, let's be honest. Trying to hold on.
Is there a bigger superhero in comic book history and world history than Superman?
Batman, but yes.
Worldwide, do you think Batman's bigger than Superman?
Do you understand that the animated series from the 90s wasn't actually given an official title because everybody knew who the character was?
So I'm not talking like, to me, Batman. I think if you went around the world, right, and you said name the best superhero or your favorite superhero or whatever, I think Superman's the one that's going to be more commonly talked about. Now, if you want to talk about what's grossed more, what's more media rights, all that stuff, yeah, Batman, like, fine, I get that. But I think, like, especially in third world, I think that third world's going to know Superman a lot more than they're going to know Batman.
I would disagree. It would be Batman.
I would agree with Caleb.
Because Superman's story is so unique to an American's backstory that anybody could be Batman. And Batman has that notoriety no matter what.
You're going to like micro.
Yeah, I agree.
Liking macro.
Because again, I have done the research.
I don't think you have on this, sir. Superman is more widely known across the globe than Batman.
No,
I mean, you're coming from a comic nerd movie kind of perspective. I'm coming from a sports perspective. Superman is widely used worldwide for sports.
Again, it'll still be Batman. And if you want to fact check me on it, Caleb, you're out. You can absolutely fact check me on it, but I promise you, if you were to put into the Google who is more popular, Batman or Superman, Batman will be the person to come up.
Yeah, but again, it's skewed to first world data, and a
Not
majority of the
necessarily.
world is not first world. Like, so what I was trying to say is, coming from a sports perspective, like Olympics is a good example. You don't hear people talking about, I want to have a Batman performance, or that was a Batman feat. It's Superman.
But that's
it's a
a-
Superman
but-
performance. It's a Superman feat,
But
and
what
everybody
you're
knows what
referring
that means
to
and what it relates
is
to.
is an American term.
No, Superman is not an American term.
Trust
That's
me.
what I'm saying. In the sports world, and that's where I'm coming from. Again, you're coming from a, if you want to say, legitimate perspective, from an actual comic book nerd movie perspective. But from a
I'm just
sports
talking
perspective,
overall presence in general.
I mean, according
yeah,
to
but nobody
Google,
talks about Batman in the sports world. Nobody. Batman isn't mentioned
Wait,
unless you're
Pinky?
talking about a 1A and a 1B.
According to
situation. It's a Batman and
Google,
Robin.
shut up, Caleb. According to Google, Batman is considered more popular in recent years due to a higher number of feature films, merchandising success, and relatable human struggles.
Right, but I mean, that only backs up my point. That's a first world situation. Third world isn't on Batman like that. Like, and I think that's, I don't, and I could be wrong. I don't have the ability to go do this research to where I'm talking about. But if I believe if you went and talked about
Robert,
one or the other,
throw up a poll tomorrow.
All right.
that'd be interesting to see.
We got this.
Let's see what the
Um,
people say.
Regardless, I guess where I was going with that, Robert, to get to your point and allow you to continue on then, is this is DC's biggest character, I guess maybe up until the last couple of years. And if you fail with this, the whole franchise is done, right? You don't recover from a bad Superman. Can
Correct.
you?
No. And you really can't. I mean, it happened
I mean-
with Brandon Routh.
You had the Brandon Routh one, and then you came out with the Man of Steel. So yes, you can technically.
But they didn't
And-
try to do a universe off of the Brandon Roth, right? Like,
They
No.
tried continuing it from Christopher Reeves's story, but that was before reboots were like, oh, hey, the main thing to do.
right. So you're not building a
Um,
universe, so there wasn't really an issue if that failed or succeeded per se. Whereas if this fails in that same way that those movies failed, can James Gunn continue to build his universe?
Exactly. And that's where, from everything that has been coming out, it's been a bait and switch from the beginning with the trailers and the lead ups and things like that.
I love that.
So I am
love
very
hearing
much
that.
excited to see that. And currently on Rotten Tomatoes, it has 140 reviews and it is certified at 86%.
Damn.
So a very concise and very level.
And that's basically critics giving that score,
that
right?
is critics. That is critics. And
And I'd be
from-
hard pressed to say that fans are going to hate this movie. It's
And
Superman.
And from a lot of my other places that are comic book people reviewing it as well, they are also singing it as much as the high praises can be for Superman.
Nice.
So, I am excited. Superman is supposed to be a hit. I see it Thursday and I'm seeing it Friday. I am so stoked. I mean, it's been, again, on my movies to see while I haven't been genuinely positive about it. It very much is a situation where it's a game time decision. And a lot of the times, except in certain cases, I do fall in line with where a lot of in the middle between critics and actual people that review it. Which is why I simply sat back and said F1 will be the movie of the summer, because everyone will go see that.
See, I don't
Period.
give a damn about critics. I don't care what
Yeah.
somebody else, if they want to deep dive. Was I entertained? And then was I entertained at a level that I want to watch that movie again?
Sure.
That's what matters
So
to Pinky.
let me end this evening and this segment, I guess I should say, and then we'll end the evening on this, Robert. And I would like you to kind of give a quick thought on this.
Yeah, lay it on me.
For somebody who isn't, I feel like I was always more well versed in Marvel than I was DC for whatever reason, and so I'm really struggling to now, for lack of a better way of saying it, kind of catch up on DC lore. But I've heard that this Superman is going to have a lot going on.
Yes.
Is it going to introduce us to, because James Gunn kind of feels like he's the epitome of finding the weird and not irrelevant characters, but not necessarily the ones that everybody knew about or wants to see, which in the sense of Guardians of the Galaxy was a good thing. But is he bringing in characters like that into Superman, or is he bringing in big hitters that you should know if you're even a little bit versed, or if you're not well versed, these are big hitters that you should be learning about? And I know Green Lantern's in it, so I'm kind of aware there, but I'm learning about which version of Green Lantern, and you guys kind of help me with that. So I'm curious your take on that thought.
So great question. You're gonna get a mix of both, because I mean, if I were to say the name Metamorpho, that probably means nothing to you.
Yeah, I know.
He is one of the original comic villains from 1965.
Okay.
But what this does, because, and I don't want to use Avengers as an example because it's not that great, but I really don't have anything else to back it up with. So Metamorpho is a very unique villain. He can really turn himself into anything and become just about anything, but he's so obscure, and I'm not sure where this story goes, but Lex Luthor has a hand in that. Well, everybody knows Lex Luthor. That is his Joker to the Batman. Like,
right.
That is, and that is it, right? So with Lex Luthor and some of these other villains and these other characters coming into play, because James Gunn came out and said, we're not doing origin stories. These are worlds that are already set up.
Right.
So you're being propelled and thrust into this new world with some of the things that, hey, here's your safety blanket you know about. You can kind of bridge off of this, but this is also going to span new people, new things, new.
I mean,
Justice League.
We know Superman comes from Kansas. We know Batman's parents died. Like, we don't need them to tell us that again.
The only thing that stays consistent is Batman's parents dies, Superman is from Kansas, and Uncle Ben will always stay dead. Like, that's just it.
Is he running off of, for lack of a better way of stating it, because I don't know how else to say it, comic book storylines like Marvel is? Or is he kind of just, I know these characters and their backstories, and I'm going to kind of make up my own thing?
So he is basing it off, I forget the exact Superman comic, but he is basing it off of a Superman comic, bringing in those other elements. Because again, and I mentioned it 2 weeks ago when I was on the podcast, that they are coming out with a Lantern series with Hal Jordan.
Right.
But at the same time, you have the other, and I'm totally blanking on his name, the other Green Lantern, and then you also have
Guy Gardner.
Well,
that's
Guy
this
Gardner,
one.
and then
there's another
then you
one.
have
Okay.
the from the animated series.
He's one of the most
John
popular
Stewart?
ones. John Stewart.
Yes, John Stewart. So
I guess I do know a little bit.
So John Stewart and Hal Jordan are doing a series together, but you also have Nathan Fillion coming in and playing Guy Gardner.
Will this all tie in comic-wise with the stories of what's actually happening in the comics with what he wants to do with Batman, and or is he
Not
just like picking
necessarily.
and pulling random things from the DC universe and mashing them together?
In a sense, he's mashing them together, because the other story that we're getting, if it gets written, he hasn't settled on anything yet, is in the Batman Brave and the Bold.
Right.
Damian Wayne is present, his son.
Mm.
So that means we've skipped all of the other Robins and everything. So it all just depends on where a lot of the, again.
So this Superman is a huge deal. Like, not just a little bit of a huge deal. It's a really huge deal.
It is the big deal. Which, to end on this thought, and that'll be in the coming weeks as we get through this, is with Fantastic Four, as it is the beginning hope for DC. Fantastic Four is Marvel's last hope to make a cinematic story again.
To kind of reset and salvage what they had built.
Correct, because now they are in complete unraveling disarray. In my opinion. So you gotta pick a lesser of two evils. Again, I'm excited for both. If I really am gonna pick one that will probably be better than the other right now, from what I have seen, it will be Superman. After everything I've seen with Fantastic Four, I can't say I'm super excited for it. I mean, I was excited to see Superman. I talked negatively about it, and I will own that through and through. But I was still more excited to see Superman. Because I think Zack Snyder, while he had a good vision, that's not my Superman. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right. I
I'm
like it.
with you. Man of Steel is a perfectly fine movie.
Man of Steel is great.
Wait, hey, we don't. Easy, gentlemen, easy.
We'll come back to this.
Final thoughts, Robert, go.
Again, movies are back in the box office. Go see them. You can't go wrong with anything. How to Train Your Dragon, The Jaws Anniversary, Superman, F1. Just go to the movies. Enjoy it.
A lot out right now.
Turn off reality. Reality is not good right now. Don't turn off completely, but escape for a couple hours. Have fun at the movies. Eat a bunch of popcorn. Drink too much soda. Just have a blast.
Pinky, good sir.
I second all that, Robert. Great job. Let's see Superman. Let's have some fun.
Woo! Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the dead season. It doesn't exist anymore. If you need something, if you like sports, hit us up. Get in contact with us. We will find between the three of us something for you to be entertained by. And it may not even be sports. That's why we have the nonsense. Because we do have other likes and interests, okay?
Yeah.
So one way or the other, we can make sure you get through this to football if that's what you're really needing, okay? We can help. On that note, spend that quality moment. Take advantage of them with that inner circle, your family, loved one, friends, whoever you may consider that to be. Do not waste those moments and let them go by. Please, please, please take advantage of them when you get an opportunity to. On that note, to everybody that likes, follows, shares, subscribes, whatever the word you want to use is, if you support us in any way, cliche as it may be, you do not know how much we appreciate it. Thank you. And guess what? We're out until next week. Peace.